Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the Starline by an award-winning commentator, victims' rights advocate, broadcast journalist, and mom. Founder and publisher of CrimeOnline.com and host of the podcast, Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. We welcome Nancy Grace.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me. It's my honor.
Nancy, let's go beyond the mic. The goal of Crime Stories with Nancy Grace is to use your power of your social media following telling stories on a daily basis. How did this concept of using podcasts to meet your audience where they were come from?
Oh, man. Now, see, you just opened Pandora's box. You asked it. Now I'm going to tell it. It was a complete fluke.
Really?
A fluke. This is what happened. Yes, I was in undergrad at Mercer University. I was studying Shakespearean literature with the dream of becoming a professor at university level. I left an exam, a statistics exam one day. On my way to the library where I worked, I stopped en route and called to tell them I would be late. They told me to call my fiance's family. I knew right then Keith was dead. But I called and I confirmed Keith was dead. I don't know how I knew that. The rest of everything was a blur. Keith was murdered by a guy he didn't know that had been fired from the workplace before Keith came on to work there. It's a construction job out in the middle of nowhere. My world exploded. I dropped out of school. I couldn't eat. I ultimately did go back to school with the goal of getting into law school. I did get into law school at Mercer Law. I later went to NYU for an LLM. It took me 3 more years to get into the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, which was then one of the murder capitals of the country. Spent 10 years there prosecuting nothing but violent crimes, except for one attempted shoplifting. And after that, all of a sudden, my boss, like a grandfather to me, retired. So I took Court TV up on an offer, which I had earlier rejected because I wanted to stay in the courtroom. And I launched Cochran and Grace with Johnny Cochran in New York. I never sent a resume. I never did a demo. I then did 2 jobs, Court TV and HLN. Did that for about 11 years. Then they wanted me to work at night. And I had been going live for all those years. From the morning, the noon, and the night, I'd stay to do Larry King till 10 o'clock and then go home because I had no children. I never thought I'd be a wife and mother after Keith's murder. But lo and behold, decades later, my dream came true. It got to a point when the twins were about 4. They realized that I was sneaking out the playroom window to go to work when I said I was going to go take a bath. And they would scream and carry on when I would leave. I finally said, we've got a tape during the day. When I found out I had to go back at night, I said, I got to find something else to do. I left and I started a podcast and a website, CrimeOnline.com and Crime Stories. And then it made it to iHeart. My lucky day.
So, Nancy, who influenced you at Mercer and gave you a deeper appreciation of the law?
Well, first of all, my English literature professor, Kenneth Hammond. And then at Mercer Law School, there was a criminal law professor with a very, very thick Irish brogue. His name was Sean Watkins. And then my property law professor, James Rayberg, a.k.a. Death Ray, led me through. And they were big inspirations for me to continue when it was difficult. I was working my way through school. That's never easy for anybody. At NYU, I didn't know the professors as well. NYU has a lot of famous professors, and they come in and then they leave, so you don't get to really know them as well. But I got my LLM in constitutional and criminal law at NYU, and I got to delve much more deeply into the Constitution and into criminal law at NYU. But I got to tell you, I loved Mercer University. And that's where I met my now husband, believe it or not.
Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. It's available wherever you find podcasts, and Nancy Grace joins us for the Rockin' 8 random questions. Answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. Nancy, there is no pressure.
Ready.
What's the best thing about your children?
Oh, best thing about my children is when I get big hugs and we sit around the dinner table. I cook about 5 nights a week, and I love it. I laugh so hard at their stories.
What breed is your rescue dog?
He is a mutt. He was billed as a thoroughbred dachshund. My son wanted a hot dog, as he called it. He is nothing but a mutt, and I love him. His name is Fat Boy.
Who's the one friend you can depend on when you need to be cheered up?
My husband, David Lynch.
Nancy, where's the best place on the Mercer University campus?
Chapel.
How about the last book you read for pleasure?
And that's a good one. The Great Gatsby. My children were reading it at school, so I decided to reread it.
Favorite place to take a walk?
Favorite place to take a walk? At a nature preserve that I go to not far from our home.
What color was your prom dress?
Oh, gosh. My favorite prom dress was peach colored. We couldn't afford one from the store, so I had a seamstress, Miss Tassell. She's about 80 years old. We went and got the fabric, and she made it for me. Peach.
How about your favorite board game?
No question. Clue.
It's time for One Big Question with host of Crime Stories with Nancy Grace Beyond the Mic. Nancy, you worked in the Fulton County DA's office as a special prosecutor, but I want to know, what does the word justice mean to you right now?
Justice means a true verdict, a verdict that speaks the truth. It can come in many, many forms. But to me, that is justice, where the victims walk away feeling that somebody heard them and did something.
As families still struggle with cold cases around the country, what words of kindness do you have for them today?
Oh, gosh, cold cases. I was so blessed because my fiance's killer was apprehended, tried. I was a witness at the trial, and he went to jail. He's out now. But he did his time. I knew what happened to Keith. So many people have no idea what happened to their loved ones. And I do have one word, which is my North Star. My North Star is this word: persevere.
She loves her peach-colored prom dress, the board game Clue, and wants you to hear Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Nancy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Bye, dear, and please invite me back. Oh, my goodness. It was wonderful. Thank you for inviting me.
And that, my friends, is I'll be on the mic shortcut. If you're enjoying these conversations, please check out another Beyond the Mic episode to find more actors, artists, and people you need to know. We'd also appreciate a like and subscribe on the Good Pods app.